What's up, everyone? Marc Lobliner, TigerFitness.com. Now, before I get into this video, just let you know, I am pro legalization of marijuana. Although after it's been legalized, I kind of don't like walking around smelling it all over the place. You know, the first time I went to California after they legalized it, I was like, holy crap. It smelled like a high school party. Now, just to lay down some bases or some baselines for my opinion on why I don't smoke marijuana, why I've never smoked marijuana, is you got to go over my history. Number one, my mom is an addict. So that obviously, will play a role in my view on the drug. Number two is I've had personal instances where marijuana has affected my ability to play team sports. Not personally, but my teammates. Use of marijuana has affected that ability. Number three is just societal and what I want to do in my life and where I see myself. So just to get into this, marijuana is a personal decision, right? It's a victimless crime. I would say marijuana, I wouldn't even say it's a crime. It should not be a scheduled drug. If you look at marijuana versus alcohol, I can make a very strong case, and I would love for anyone to debate me on this, on if you're going to choose one or the other, marijuana is a better choice than alcohol. Marijuana does not have the effects on your liver, your kidney. You can argue, and we'll go over some mental things that marijuana can do as far as psychosis is concerned. Alcohol literally makes you stupider. Alcohol, drinking and driving, but driving while impaired with marijuana is a problem as well. Now with alcohol, you can measure how drunk the people are. Marijuana is an issue. I've talked to a lot of police officers where they know the person's intoxicated and inebriated, and marijuana does make you a bit loopy, whereas I don't think you should be driving while intoxicated with marijuana. However, with alcohol, we have a way to measure it. With marijuana, not so much. So we want to talk about the potential impacts of marijuana use, the issues with decreased motivation, long-term psychological effects, and all that good stuff. So I hope this video helps you make an informed decision of whether marijuana is for you. And by the way, if you're watching this after the live, feel free to please comment down below, help me in the algorithm. And if you're watching this live on YouTube or on Twitter, feel free to jump in on the chat. I am not against people using marijuana. If you want to smoke weed, do your thing. Again, it's your choice. I've tried edibles before. We'll go into that later. Also wanted to give you a heads up that we have ice cream sandwich, cookies and cream, and chocolate and vanilla MTSY back in stock. I'm giving you 10% off the entire site, TigerFitness.com. Coupon code is WEED, W-E-E-D, WEED. Coupon code is WEED. So, that being said, please support us. We appreciate everything. So back to the video. So marijuana is actually a beneficial drug. For people suffering from cancer, glaucoma, and other things, it can help mediate the pain. It can help you deal with these problems. Marijuana can also be given to people with appetite issues. There's a lot of benefits, medicinal benefits to marijuana. Recreationally, well, if people like to unwind, people like to party, people like to smoke weed, I'm all for that. You do you have fun. I'm a legalize everything type of guy. Marijuana can be used for pain relief, reducing anxiety, helps with medical conditions, as I said. But today we're going to focus on the potential downsides and why I personally don't smoke marijuana, and why if I'm going to do anything, and I've tried this, I've gotten some decent results with Delta 9, which is you get it legally. I use a brand called Nick's Nugs. My buddy grows it and everything out here. I like it, but I have noticed, just full disclosure, I do sleep well, but the quality of my sleep is not as good. So if I'm getting no sleep at all, let's say I'm really stressed out, maybe I'm contest prep, what have you, I do notice that I fall asleep, I stay asleep, but as measured by my Whoop strap, my HRV, which is my heart rate variability, is not as good. My heart rate's not as good. My recovery metrics aren't as good, and I don't feel as good the next day. However, it does put me to sleep. If nothing else puts me to sleep, that puts me to sleep. So what I'll do is I'll take a half of one. So Nick's Nugs, I believe, is 10 milligrams, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't taken it in a while. So when I was contest prep, I couldn't sleep at all. because I was so lean and I was hungry and it was ugh. So anyway, I would take a half a Nick Snug and I would take Ritual PM from Ambrosia, and I would sleep like a baby. However, my recovery metrics weren't as good, but I was sleeping. So at the end of the day, I wanted to sleep. I wasn't worried about the quality of sleep. I was worried about the quantity of sleep at that point. So one issue I have with marijuana is laziness. Now, a lot of people are able to mitigate that, but as someone who's been around marijuana his entire life, again, with friends who've done it, I've noticed that those who smoke marijuana perpetually, smoke it often, are very avid users of the drug, have something that scientists called amotivational syndrome. So studies do suggest that marijuana use regularly, especially when started at a young age, can lead to decreased motivation and a lack of ambition. While not everyone experiences this, again, it's like alcohol. Some people tolerate alcohol well. Some people get violent. Some people do weird things. Drugs affect people differently. Some people are very, very, very sensitive to the negative effects of marijuana. And we'll go into that later with the potential of psychosis. We even bring up a couple articles from Yale, et cetera. But the risk is significant enough to consider that you might be someone who doesn't do well with marijuana. Particularly if you're younger, you're developing. Remember, your brain's not fully developed till like the age of 25. Your reasoning skills, all that are still developing, and we need more data. We need more data. We always need more data. But without this data, we need to understand that as the brain is developing, what happens when you're using a drug like marijuana? What does THC do to a developing brain? And you look at when people are smoking marijuana, I experimented in high school. I experimented in college. Those are years when your brain is developing, your neurons are growing, your synapses, your neuroplasticity is through the roof. So the question is, what is that doing? So a more severe concern that I didn't know about when I was a kid, I just didn't smoke it because I didn't like the smell. I didn't like smoking things. I was constantly around marijuana. Marijuana was everywhere I went. At that time, it wasn't legal in California. But dude, everybody smoked weed. You never went to a party where marijuana was not present. So research has shown a link between marijuana and increased rates of psychotic disorders, including schizophrenia. And here's the key: especially in those with a genetic predisposition to schizophrenia. So the risk is higher, again, for those who start young and then keep smoking marijuana regularly. So with that being said, let's add this to the stage. Let's start with this one. So this is from the National Institute on Drug Abuse, and you can take that for what it's worth. I'm one of those who's not really the biggest fan of government organizations on drug abuse. I think the DARE program's kind of stupid. But nonetheless, the relationship between cannabis use and psychiatric disorders is complex and more research is needed. I respect them for saying that. Considerable, though not all, evidence has linked cannabis to earlier onset of psychosis in people, here's the key, with genetic risk factors. So your family history plays a role. For example, my mother is manic depressive, bipolar, and an addict. Do you really think that I would be a candidate for responsible marijuana use? Absolutely not. And I knew that at a young age because I've been dealing with her addiction problem since I was a kid. So I am not a candidate for marijuana use. I'm just not. My family history is like, nope, not for you. While people with mental illnesses and related symptoms are more likely to use cannabis, more research is needed. Many factors such as amount of drug, again, dose. So when you take in an edible that is measured, let's say you go to let's say an edible shop that's controlled. You know, we have a buddy who owns one in Orange County in Costa Mesa. I think Irvine, actually. All his stuff is measured, controlled. I have gummies from there. I've taken them. I've taken too much accidentally once. And I'll be real. The one time I overdid gummies, it was before a flight. I was paranoid. I was nauseous. And the effects lingered for hours. And unfortunately, here's the story. So I took it before a flight home to my daughter's soccer banquet. I'm not playing. Her sophomore year. And my daughter had this amazing goal that year. District finals, it was tied 1-1. 20 seconds left, double overtime, going into penalty kicks. And she kicks the goal. I can actually pull it up. I'm not going to waste your time with it. I've posted it so many times. And so they make a run. There's 20 seconds left. Boom. Cammie kicks the one-timer. Game over. Wins the district championship. Amazing moment. I'm going to cry thinking about it. Okay. So I go to this event, and I just get off a flight from California, high off my fucking mind. And the video plays, and I start ugly crying. I just start ugly crying. Luckily, we were pre-watching the video, myself and another dad who put it together. And he's like, bro, you got to get the fuck out of here. Like, James was like, dude, you got to get out. You're making a mess. You're a mess. So I went and hid in the bathroom. I couldn't watch the video. So I'm not a candidate, especially when dose isn't accounted for, which when you smoke it, you really can't measure it. Again, like many factors influence this: stress, genes, trauma. If you have a traumatic episode, that changes everything. Changes a lot of how your brain works. So research has shown that cannabis use is associated with increased risk for earlier onset psychotic disorders, such as schizophrenia in people with other risk factors. Again, family history. It can also induce a temporary psychotic episode in some individuals, especially at high doses. So if you're just puff giving and you're not measuring how much you're taking in, you have no idea what's going on. So just going to the next one. And again, guys, any comments, any questions, the chat is open. And again, please comment down below. Help me with the algorithm. I'm still shadow banned from the good old days of 2020 when I mentioned vitamin D during the pandemic. So with that being said, here's actually an article on Yale's website that I think is actually well put together. And I'll share this with you guys. I did some research before I came here. Studies have shown that THC in cannabis can cause short-term psychosis until the drug is metabolized in the body. If exposed to cannabis in adolescence, research shows individuals are 2 to 4 times more likely to develop schizophrenia spectrum disorder than if you're not exposed. Now, that can be that people who have mental disorders are more likely to try marijuana, so more people are doing it, hence the 2 to 4 times. Or it could just mean that it's causing people to have schizophrenia. I mean, we don't know. But there's 2 correlations. We don't know what it is. Not everyone who uses cannabis develops psychosis, and not everyone with psychotic disorder is exposed to cannabis. Good job, Yale. Consider avoiding or delaying use of cannabis. Here's what I said: until typical expression onset of illness, 25 years old. What did I say before I even read you this article? The brain development, dude, your shit's not closed till like 25. And then your neuroplasticity goes to shit. And then like learning a new language becomes harder. All that stuff becomes harder. So at the end of the day, if you're going to smoke weed, don't do it when you normally smoke weed. That's not going to work. Basically, you stay off drugs, kids. Frequency and amount, time of exposure, duration of exposure, and potency of cannabis all impact amount of risk for psychosis associated with cannabis use. Daily and higher potency cannabis leads to increased risk of psychosis. Of course, dose versus duration. And you have dose plus duration, you have yourself a problem. Daily and high, today's cannabis is more potent than several decades ago. Also realize stuff on the street these days might not be pure, could be laced with whatever. And that's another thing. That's pretty much all I wanted to read out of that. You just go back to me here. All right, so basically, personally, when I was playing high school football my senior year, we should have won state. We had all the talent in the world. We had everything going for us. But for some reason, a large group of players wanted to smoke marijuana before the game. You had 4-star players playing like 1-star players. There's no way we should have lost some of the games. You were literally dazed and fucking confused on the field. So from a personal standpoint, this upset me so much that we had a huge issue within the team. I was a captain, a huge issue among leadership. And at the end of the day, we did not win state. We underperformed. We lost in the first round. I hurt my knee. My career was over. So nonetheless, that is my personal experience. It just inebriates you. But I do see a place for marijuana. If you like smoking weed, if you like getting with your friends and passing the doobie and have a good time, by all means. It's not for me. from reasons aforementioned. Number one is I come from a family of addiction. That is a non-ish. That is just, no, that stops it right there. I come from a family of not only addiction, I come from a family of mental disorders, bipolar, manic depressive. We have all that shit. So basically, I don't want to mess with it. So for me, that's why I don't personally do it. Another thing is I don't want my kids to do it. I don't think they need it. And I think if they see me doing it, it'll lead to them doing it. Now, do they know I tried the gummies? Yes. If my kids want to try a gummy and they're 18 plus, by all means, go ahead. But again, I can't eat a gummy and talk to you. When I eat the gummies, I'm asleep. If I'm going to go to bed and I eat that thing 10 minutes, I'm asleep. For me, it just makes me sleepy. Maybe it's the Delta 9 strain. I don't know. But that is my experience with marijuana and THC and all that good stuff. So that is where I'm at. But, nonetheless, that's all I really got to say about it. Marijuana is a personal choice. It is something that should be legal. I believe it's safer than alcohol. I believe it's safer than probably cigarettes. I believe there's other forms you could do it that's not smoking where you still get the THC. So all in all, marijuana is your choice. Do I think we should be able to smoke it in public? I don't know. I'm up in the air about the whole smoking, non-smoking thing. I understand personal rights, like being able to do what you want to do, but I also understand that I'm out there and maybe I don't want to smell it. So, I'm kind of up in there. My libertarian self is arguing with itself about being able to smoke in public. Obviously, restaurants, whatever, the business can control it. But I don't know, walking down the street, smoking weed. I guess if you could smoke cigarettes and you're not on a park property where they're like, hey, don't smoke within X amount of feet. I think it should be treated like tobacco on that nature. But let me know your thoughts, guys. Let me know your thoughts. I'll go in the chat right now. Again, before I forget, coupon code WEED, coupon code WEED at tigerfitness.com gets you 10% off the entire site, including energy drinks, which by the time we ship it, we're not making money on that because you just got the 10% margin we had. 10% off everything at tigerfitness.com, both my brands and other brands. Vanilla, chocolate, cookies and cream, and ice cream sandwich way are back in stock. Nope, I've never smoked anything my whole life. But again, I have tried the gummies. And again, it's called Nick's Nugs. For those of you in the chat, I'm going to go ahead and see if I can find their website. I don't remember. Bino's a buddy of mine. If I had a coupon code for it, I have no idea. But if I did, I forgot it. Yeah, here it is. I'm going to link this in the chat. Again, I don't have a coupon code, but this is the ones I used that I still have some, but I haven't had a need to use them because I've been sleeping just fine without them. I smoke every day. I'm addicted to it. So you are addicted to it. For those who say that marijuana isn't addicting, ASD1MJKE, you're saying it is addictive? And do you want to stop? And if you want to stop, I want to know why you want to stop. I am smoking one right now. God bless you. I really wish my husband cut back or drop it completely, but he is addicted. Why do you want him to stop? What about marijuana makes you want him to stop? I just want to know. I'm curious. Your lungs are not made to inhale smoke. No, if you look at long-term, and look at all the damage vaping's doing to people now, from what I'm hearing, I honestly don't think we are. But again, who am I to say what our bodies were meant to do? Our body can adapt to a lot of things, but if you've seen smokers' lungs after years, it's not a good picture. Love me some Mary Jane. Mary Jane. I stopped for a week or two and I always end up smoking again. My body can't go without it. Now I'm addicted. It sucks. Now my high just gives me anxiety. And oh my God, man, I did not expect the chat to be like this. I expected it to be you should try weed, bro. It's awesome. I smoked weed every day for over a decade. My lungs are great. Also lift every day, own rental properties, make multiple six figures, my primary job. I'm not saying you can't do it. And the thing is, if you look at the data, it affects some people differently. Again, I'm all about marijuana use, and if it works with your life, my question is, John, and this is what I always do, because I do pretty well in life. I do pretty well. What could I do if I didn't do something, or if I did something? Could my life be even better? That's a question for you, but I'm happy you're killing it, bro. You have smoked a lot at age 14, wish I knew better. Majority of stoners, people who smoke as often as I do not live a similar lifestyle, though, and I see extreme laziness and lack of motivation. See, so you're saying you're the exception, not the rule, right, John? Again, I don't know. I've never tried it. I'm just going by my personal experience, which is a bubble. I've lived in a bubble my whole life. I lived in the hood bubble. Now I live in the Brentwood bubble. So my bubbles are my bubbles, and I want to know about your bubbles. Same for me, 12 years, and I hit a wall. Well, that's sorry to hear, John, or YT. It reeks of weed everywhere you go these days, says Jarella. I hate drugs. My last girl was spiked with fentanyl and her not so good friend. She was 27-year-old Walmart manager. I came home last June and found her dead on the couch. Fuck. That's another thing. When you when you get black market drugs, you risk the fentanyl thing. You just do. I think I saw a stat: 2 out of 3 of street bought drugs are laced with fentanyl. If I'm mistaken, please fact check me. It's different for everyone, says John. I didn't start until 23 years old. Was all out of depression, ADHD meds as a young kid, and weed has helped me so much more. That's another thing. It does treat some things. I have a buddy with Lyme disease that needs marijuana. It makes his life so much better. We let her friend stay with us because she kept asking to allow him. I think he killed her on purpose because I think she threatened to get him off drugs or she would tell he couldn't quit. Well, that's sad to hear, Dream Lover. I definitely hate drugs and booze. Well, I'm sad. I'm sorry to hear that happen to you, bro. I really am. What up, Mark? What up, Steve-O? Look at that hair. Guys, if you're on live right now, I want you to look at Steve's hair. I don't have the fucking hairline for that, Steve. I mean, I just don't. I have the DHT hairline going on here. I don't use THC anymore. It makes me unmotivated. Well, your hair motivates me, Steve. Your hair motivates me. It might be pulling the trigger on someone's genetic potential to have a mental health disorder. I agree. There's also research showing that people with ADHD have later brain development. I'm still waiting on my brain to develop, my man. I think I read it was 35. 35, shit, I'm fucked. This is all I got. Did you ever do no sugar? I've never tried a recreational drug other than the edibles. I've never tried a recreational drug. I've drank alcohol a few times. I haven't had I had a sip of alcohol in 2017. My wife and I renewed her vows. We went to this fancy restaurant in Vegas because we got married by a guy named Vinny the Hitman at a fucking church in Vegas, or a fake church in Vegas, and chapel, whatever you want to call it. Just renew our vows, say that we still love each other, all that bullshit. And yeah, I had a sip of her martini. Other than that, man, I haven't touched alcohol. When my daughter turned 1, we had a party. I drank a couple sips of a mudslide, and I said, I never want to see my kids drink alcohol. I'm taking, yeah, the gummies are okay. I'm okay with the gummies. I don't agree with them taking away gun rights for medical cards. I agree, Steve. Any gun law is unconstitutional. I will never give up my Second Amendment for weed, nor should you. Government has no right to do that. I believe you get addicted to anything. It's just your mindset. You're right. Like, you ever see My Strange Addiction? People get addicted to literally pulling their hair out, to eating bleach. Anything with a negative or positive reaction causes dopamine release, which causes addiction. It is what it is. My teen son ended up in a 5150. That means crazy. That's a criminal code for crazy. In psych ward, smoking the vape pen. He went from there to a rehab facility for a month. Now he's back home doing good. He had a temporary psychosis. Sorry to hear that, dad of 3, and my prayers are with you and your family. So many people are obsessed with weed. They will never admit to well-documented fact that it can never have negative side effects for some. I did an anti-weed Instagram live once, and I never got more hate than when I did that. And I'm not anti-weed. I'm pro-legalizing things, and I'm pro-choice, meaning I'm pro the right to choose what you do with your body. We all know my girl was drugged. Cops think that as well, but not enough evidence. Yeah, they're between a rock and a hard place. I'm sure they want to catch the guy too. He gets the munchies and has gained considerable amount of weight. I worry for his health. Oh, that's another thing. Now he's not, and it leads to lack of inhibition, which leads you to overeat because it gives you the munchies apparently, and that'll cause obesity, which is the number one comorbidity. Oops, I worry for his health being overweight. Yeah, being fat is fucking terrible. We are middle-aged. Oh, okay. Yeah, I get it. Well, you need to just fucking slap him. I got to go back to Bass Bunny Love. You need to slap the shit out of that man. Slap the shit out of him. How good is your relationship? Like, if he wants your relationship to work, he needs to listen to you, man. 5150 is California code. Yes, my brother-in-law is a cop in California, so I know all the codes. I'm quitting to get my CD on alcohol is just poison in a bottle. Paris, you could not be more correct. By the way, for those on the YouTubes, I want you to look at Paris's back. That man is a strong motherfucker. Look at that back. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching. Before I leave you, remember MTS Way. It's back in stock. Ice cream sandwich, cookies and cream, chocolate and vanilla. We also have the chocolate caramel outright bar in stock. Everything on the site, 10% off with coupon code WEED, W-E-E-D. That's WEED, W-E-E-D. Thank you so much for watching, guys. We will see you next time.